In Revelation chapter 13, in verse 1, it reads like this in the New International Version. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on his horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. So this entire system, the totality of it that is rising in the earth today, is going to be a blasphemous system. It is not going to worship Jesus Christ. It is going to try with all of its power to stamp out the knowledge of the one God and one religion that can bring salvation to this world. Verse 2, it says, the beast I saw resembled a leopard. And it goes on and gives some of the descriptive power of it. But it says that the power that is going to be behind this throne and this authority given to this individual will be the dragon. And Revelation 12:9 identifies the dragon as Satan the devil. There is a spirit being that people on this earth worship as God. They literally worship this unseen hand, which you and I have come to know as Lucifer or Satan. And it is this hand that is giving rise to this end-time system. In this same chapter, it shows in verse 6 and 7 that there is coming, or actually verse 7 is where I'll read from, he was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. So there is coming a very devastating time for Christians in the very near future. And yet you and I should not be dismayed at all and shouldn't let this bother us, because Jesus Christ has already conquered Satan. He's already overcome him, and the grave is not a threat to us at all. So if this beast system, when they start killing Christians, which they've already done in over half of the earth, China, the Soviet Union, all the Eastern European communist satellite bloc nations, they've wiped out Christianity except underground in all of those nations. Right now they're putting on a persecution campaign against all Christians in Nicaragua, and they're trying to stamp it out there. Every nation that this power rises up against and overthrows, they start immediately upon the governmental officials and then Christianity, because that is the number one threat. You have Lucifer, better known as Satan, on one side, and on the other side you have Jesus Christ. And those who are working for world government literally worship Lucifer by name. They believe, and it's in their creeds, the Luciferian creed, that Lucifer is God, just like Jesus is God. This is what they believe. That's why they are working just as hard for world government as you and I believe that Jesus Christ will return to establish his government on this earth. And most in Christianity do not comprehend that. They think of Satan as just a spirit being out there. He's sort of a red figure with a tail and horns and this type thing, and he's sort of a mythical figure. But he's not. He's real. And he has all the glory at one time that God gave him. And yet this brilliance, and he transforms himself into an angel of light, and this is why so many people follow him. And then, according to those who have been in witchcraft and come out of it, they say that 1/3 of the angels rebelled against God and they followed Lucifer. 1/3. I don't know what that number is, but they figure about 3 for every human being on the face of the earth. So that's tremendous odds against us, and yet there's double that number that is on the side of God, the ministering spirits to the Christian world. In Revelation 13 now, verse 8, all inhabitants, well, I'll finish verse 7. And he was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. Total world government. Verse 8, all inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. I want to show you today that there is coming a world dictatorship, how the New Age movement is interconnected with this, how they literally deal with spirit guides, which Lucifer is head of the spirit world that guides them, and that those who go into this new age just around the corner will be initiated into it. You will not enter the new age unless you accept their individual Messiah as Savior and as God. Look at verse 16 and 17. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. So here is the economic strategy which they're going to use in this new system. Now, a cashless society is very fast approaching. If you've been watching your newspapers, if any of you have credit cards and so on, you'll find out that it is literally happening. France in 1982 introduced what is called the smart card on the world scene. This is nothing more than a debit card which instantly withdraws your funds from your bank account and transfers them into someone else's bank account instantly. To be exact, it even has computer chips, microchips in it, so that it updates your bank account immediately. So that when you go to another store in order to make a transaction, they know whether you have the money to pay for that immediately. Now, this was reported in June 11th, 1985 in the International Herald Tribune. So this is now reality. By 1984, a Japanese company, Toshiba, had developed another complex smart card. It contained a battery and miniaturized computer built right into it, that you just slip this card in your back pocket, your wallet, and it's so small that you can do that. And yet it has a battery, and it also has a miniaturized computer system built into it. And it serves as a debit card, not only a debit card to transfer your money from one account to the bank's account, also it serves as an ID card. It has a medical history that can be built right into it, and then it can serve also as a worldwide passport. This was all found in the World Press Review in August of 1984. Also in 1984, Visa card was to be used as an international interaction card for instant transfer of funds. Also, Visa put out their Electron debit card, and it was inserted into an automated teller unit in Sydney, Australia in 1984. So this is now reality. What this card did in Sydney, Australia was to take money from a bank account in the United States of America. It translated the currency value from American into Australian, and it gave the exact amount of money in Australia in exchange, the proper currency exchange, all with one debit card. So now it is coming to be international. All this information was found in the International Herald Tribune, March 26 of 1984. I personally have a MasterCard, and it states right on the instructions, and we'll print this in our magazine, that this now is a Super Plus card, in which you can actually insert it into your automated teller units, and it'll debit your account and instantly transfer funds into the store's account you're doing business with. So this is reality right now. If the world wanted to go cashless, it could, and we're being forced into it step by step. In 1985, MasterCard International, which I just mentioned, also not only the Plus system card, but they introduced a smart card in the United States. It contains tiny microchips, and this debit card stores an image of your signature, and it calculates information about your bank account, and you can have up to 180 accounts and use this card, and it'll justify each one of the accounts and never let you overdraw your bank account. Now, subscribers to Blue Cross and Blue Shield medical insurance in the state of Maryland carried a plastic identity card containing their complete medical history, and these are readable through scanners. Now, this information was found in the Washington Times, September 27th, 1985. So, is this beginning to sound like to you like the Orwellian 1984 society that was predicted in that book? George Orwell's book, 1984, showing that Big Brother would totally control every facet of our life. Now, in 1986, a completely cashless society is well underway. They're in Singapore. This is just a little island state off the coast of communist China. Singapore is now a nation, and it is the #1 nation in which they're testing a total cashless society. You can use your debit card, and you're prohibited from using any type of cash in supermarkets, gas stations, major department stores, and in government offices and hospitals in Singapore right now in 1986. People must, there is no choice, use this debit card, this plastic debit card, to remove money from your account and put it into the hospital, the store, or the gas station's bank account. They have no choice. Now do you see why it's said in the New International Version, in verse 16 of Revelation 13, it said, He also forced everyone. It's a forcing because you and I are having no say-so in the matter. We've never been asked our opinion about it. We've never had opportunity to vote about it. And yet these things are closing in upon us. And if you don't become a part of the system, you'll not be able to buy and sell. That's what it says in the book of Revelation. Now, residents there in Singapore will soon be required, according to this article in Insight magazine, March 10th, 1986, they'll be required to pay their taxes and all utility bills and their hospital bills and all traffic fines through this debit card. So this sounds like they're closing in on the liberties of these individuals, and they'll have no choice. To be exact, in this article it said their government has already closed down all cash payment offices. You must pay by debit card. Is this forcing, just like the book of Revelation says? I believe it is, and I believe it's just around the horizon. I don't set dates, as you all who come know. Also, there is something else that you and I need to know about. We are being mentally conditioned for change right now. Those who are in charge of world government and establishing it are literally on the verge right now of pushing us over the brink into the system. They have every strata of society geared for it now. They only lack one thing: mental conditioning to prepare us to accept this new world order. Of course, if we understand these things, and if we understand that Jesus Christ prohibits us from taking part in this system, because they're going to worship the beast as the Messiah, and we can't do that. Jesus is the only Savior. Therefore, we cannot enter into this new age and worship this beast. That means we're going to be the outsiders. We're going to be accused of being those who are carriers of every type of disease there is. We're going to be the ones who are plaguing society and will not allow the utopia to come into being under this beast society. And therefore, they're going to look at us as an outcast. But you and I are being conditioned for change. Change in a social structure of the world at large, but in our individual lifestyles specifically. Now, this is very subtle. And once I bring this to your attention, I think you'll be able to start noticing more and more, and suddenly a light will click on in your mind, and you'll say, hey, yes, I've seen all of these things that he's talking about. The triangle or a pyramid, with or without this all-seeing eye like we have on the back of our $1 bill, is the most prevalent New Age symbol. Now, there's three types of symbols that are the greatest symbols in all of witchcraft, which Luciferian worship is. One of them is a five-pointed star with a circle around it. It's called the pentagram. Now, in these covens, when they have their witchcraft ceremonies, they'll take a nude woman and they'll draw on her stomach this pentagram. And they actually see something coming from her body. Spirits. This is those who have come out of witchcraft have testified to this. So the pentagram is one of the three greatest symbols in this New Age system. The second symbol is the six-pointed Star of David, and it is called the Magen David. It is from witchcraft. It has nothing to do with the Bible and King David. Magen David was witchcraft, and a man who actually established schools in the 14th, 15th, and 16th century in Europe to teach witchcraft, the occult, necromancer, how to raise spirits, just like, remember, the Witch of Endor did for King Saul? Well, these two are the greatest symbols in witchcraft. And now the third one is a triangle. And it literally stands for the three sides of power, the human being, body, soul, and mind. And this is what Lucifer has pawned off on the world. So the triangle is the most prevalent system in the New Age movement. Also, it's known as delta, the delta figure, which is a Greek figure, and it's a triangle. And it's designed to change your mind, because they say there is power in these various triangles or the pentagram. And so they're using, every time they send along one of these triangles, they're sending along a friend with it, a spirit guide, in which they're trying to infiltrate and to condition our minds from outside our bodies. See, you and I as a Christian, if we are truly following Jesus Christ, cannot be demon possessed, but they can influence us from the outside. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to brainwash us into accepting the hierarchical plan for this new international economic order, which is commonly called the New World Order. Only this is the economic part of it that we're talking about. Now, they're using these visual images so that you and I can see them with our eyes in order to create subconscious, nonverbal change. Now, the idea is to change part of this world revolution that's in progress is change through subtlety, deceit. Now, the Delta logo was displayed, and they started displaying it all the way back in 1939 in the World's Fair. Also in 1985, the World's Fair that was held in Japan used similar triangles and circles around those triangles. Exactly the way it is. Many times you'll see the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. You have a pyramid, and then this top block on the pyramid, which is a triangle, has an eye in it and sun rays emanating out from it. And it's on the back of every $1 bill that you have. And so they have their mark in our system. Now I'll hold it up. Right here it is on the back of every single $1 bill. And at the very top, the capstone is offset from the rest of the pyramid. And it has an eye in it and rays emanating out from it. And this is the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. And when they have completed their world government, they'll put the capstone onto the pyramid. And yet they haven't done it yet because they're still struggling for this world government. Now you'll start seeing, after I mention all this to you, triangles everywhere. I'm just going to hold up some of my notes here where we've got mimeographed off. Here's Expo 85, and here you have a triangle, and in it is circles. Down here you have the all-seeing eye that's on the back of our $1 bill, and here's your eye on the capstone offset from it. Now down here you have Government Employees Mutual Benefit Association, and they have each letter encased in a triangle, every one of them. Now this is happening all over the United States. We even have postage stamps now with triangles on them, and there's reasons for them. Now here's some more that I want to hold up. This is the National Communications Center, and you'll see here you have a triangle figure. You also have the National Institute of Health has a triangle or the delta figure. And this is one of the three tops in all of witchcraft. YMCA. They've been infiltrated and taken over, and you have the Y as a delta figure or a triangle. To be exact, you have the National Citizens Coalition for More Freedom Through Less Government. They have a triangle, a delta figure. You have the Arthritis Foundation, which has a delta figure. Campfire Girls has a delta figure. You have the Alcoholics Anonymous, which now has a delta figure, a triangle with a circle around it. So all of these things are taking place, and yet why? Suddenly has everybody switched over to a delta figure? It's because those in the New Age movement who run such things as advertising agencies and so on, they volunteer to make new symbols for companies and these institutions like Alcoholics Anonymous, which are non-profit organizations. Now the delta figure is also used in the Senior Summer Olympics. You know, the elderly in our society who like to go out and participate in sports activities. Here's a man with his t-shirt and his triangle, his delta figure on it. And here's another one, the Institute for Behavioral Research. You've got their triangle in the background, their pyramid structure. Here's the Tressler Lutheran Service Associates with their triangle. All of these are popping up all over the country. Even in the Jewish community, you have the Arab Jewish Cooperation, the community workers, where you have your triangle figure. This is popping up all over the United States. The International Conference on Family Therapy. What do we have? Two triangles interlaced with each other. Two triangles. This is their logo. And this is popping up everywhere. So kind of notice, look around sometime. The National Education Association. If you've had children in school, or you do presently have them in school, you'll realize that it's abbreviated, called the NEA. They're the #1 most expensive lobby in the United States of America that sends lobbyists to Congress to get legislation passed. This group, the National Education Association, has long been known and cited by the Attorney General of the United States as a communist front organization. It is totally infiltrated by international communism and socialism, and they actually prepare teachers to go into the school system as change agents. Just like Thomas Dewey stated, back in the 1930s, they were going to start progressive education. They said, we've got to go in and change all the neighborhoods of America. We've got to change the minds of the children. The older generation, we can't change their minds, but we need their children. Give us 2 generations of children and we'll take America. And there has been radical changes since the NEA took over as the greatest lobby in the United States. Now also, talking about the NEA, this is very interesting. On December 13th, 1982, on CBS television, this was on the evening news, it showed a teacher down in Texas who is now holding bilingual classes. Here they taught, or they spoke Spanish and English because of the border problem down in the southwestern part of the United States. So this teacher holds up a card as how she is teaching her students. And it says 5 minus 5 equal. You and I know that it should be 0, but not so on this card. It had a triangle, or the delta figure. 5 minus 5 equal delta, or triangle. So the delta would replace the 0 in order to begin to show these children this delta and begin to subtly, very unconsciously place this figure in their mind. But that's not all that's happening. This delta figure is being used in colleges, educational organizations all over the United States. The Hillsdale College, they have their logo. This is found in Hillsdale, Michigan, and they have the word alternatives. And the A is a big delta figure. And then you read the rest of the word. Also, Bancroft School is in on it. Babson College. Evangelicals for Social Action, they're in on it. They have triangles and logos. And Berkline University, the same way. And then here's a large number of companies that are now beginning to use these. Now, here's one that I want to mention before I go on. I nearly skipped it, but this is very important. This Berkline, this is a Vermont-based experimental educational school. And what this is designed for is to teach individual positive transformation. In other words, they'll lift you up by your bootstraps. They'll teach you positive thinking. And anyone who's ever checked into this knows what they do is teach you to totally clear your mind first. Have total peace. Teach you to relax, which they're also starting experimentally in the schools across the United States. Once you open your mind completely and you learn to blank it out, then they teach you, as about the 3rd or 4th step in this whole procession, is to pretend there is a wise man coming to you with wisdom. This is introducing demons into your mind. First of all, just open your mind completely, blank it out. And this is what they're teaching in this Berkline School in Vermont. It's advertised as an experimental education world center designed to support positive transformation of human beings. And how are they transforming you? From Jesus Christ to Lucifer. They're transforming you to have spirit guides. That's exactly what they're doing. Now, a very large number of corporations in the economic system is also using these Delta logos. Some of them are Allied Signal, Sandoz, American Cyanamide, or RKO General, Trilog is one of them, Control Systems, Saudi Research and Development Corporation, Innovision, and I could go on and on and on. Citgo Corporation, which is one of your gasoline refineries, and so on. Delta Airlines, and many, many others. What I'll do is just hold up several sheets now, and they're all they are is some of their logos. We just made copies of them so that you can see them. Here's your control systems. You have a six-sided figure here, and then inside it you have two triangles, or the Delta figure, which is one of the three top figures in the New Age movement. Also, you have Innovision. Right above the letters N and O, you have a triangle, or the Delta figure. And over here you have the North Bennett Street School, and you have a huge triangle. And here you have RKO General. Right here's your Delta figure underneath the series of lines that they have. Here's another, Russell Brewitt Company. You have a big circle, and then you have a triangle. This is the Delta figure that they're using all over the United States. Now, some others. Here is your AOM Corporation. This is a large corporation, and they have a series of 3 Delta figures all together. Here's another one over here, the Trintex. You have a Delta figure. There's 5 of those all together making one huge Delta figure. Then you have Safeco Insurance. You have the Delta figure and the S underneath it. You have Domes America. You have a series of Delta figures all interlaced. And then Sandoz, your triangle or Delta figure, which is one of the 3 top figures in your New Age movement. And these are designed to condition us, because the 3 sides of a triangle in the New Age movement talks about soul, body, and mind, and they know they have to capture you completely in order to transfer you into the New Age movement. Now, this is just a few of them. I've got 2 more sheets. I'm going to hold it up. And the last sheet is going to be very interesting. But here's your British Aerospace, and it has a triangle and a square over here. Then you have others here. All of these triangles are the Delta figures. See, they're just everywhere. They're popping up, and all of these are being designed by advertising agencies who are controlled by this New Age movement. Now here's one. It's called Pyramid Safe Deposit Box. And it says, be at ease. And the A is the pyramid with the all-seeing eye of Lucifer in it. And then down in their name, pyramid, P-Y-R, and then there's the A. And here's the pyramid, just like it appears on our $1 bill, and the capstone with the all-seeing eye and the sun rays coming out of it. So this is happening all over the United States, conditioning us to accept this New Age movement of complete and total control. Now this is a simple thing. See, simple thing. And you would think, well, how can this affect me at all? Well, repetition affects us. Repetition. You just go to school, they'll tell you, why do you have to do math over and over and over? Because repetition is a good teacher, one of the best teachers there is, until it comes into your brain and it just saturates your brain. Then you don't have to repeat it over and over. You can just go out and work the problem. Well, that's what they're doing here. They are literally saturating everything they can with their New Age figures. Now, among some of the banks in the United States that have already started using these Delta figures, or the pyramid figure, or what is called a triangle, all 3 of them, are the National Westminster Bank, Union Planters National Bank, Bankers Trust, Jyski Bank up in New Jersey, and the United Jersey Bank. And then, of course, I just showed you the pyramid that was on the pyramid safe deposit box. Now, full-page color advertisements have come out recently in magazines by Walden Books and also by Bell Atlantic Telephone Company. And they use various combinations of triangles and pyramids with circles. And this is the New Age movement. If anybody's ever gone into bookstores, whether it's 7-Eleven or wherever they sell magazines, you'll see Omni magazines constantly have these triangles, Delta figures with circles all the time. This is one of their New Age magazines. that is trying to bring us into this New Age system and prepare us psychologically to accept it. Now, not long ago, a sculpture was placed in the New Heart Senate office building in Washington, D.C. The name of it was Mountain and Clouds, and it's a group of pyramids, triangles once again. Remember the three sides, body, soul, and mind, which the New Age believes in. And it contains a large circle also. So here's your pyramid again with your large circle, right in our own Senate building of the United States. Now, plans have already been made, and they're going forward with this, hopefully. I don't hope that, but they hope it, for a 66-foot high glass pyramid in a courtyard in a museum in Paris, France. The Louvre, L-O-U-V-R-E Museum in Paris, France. Now, TV commercials also for Chanel No. 5 perfume show computer-generated pyramids in the background. And then it also shows Transamerica's pyramid-shaped bank building, flash with a huge light flashing at the top of it. So notice these Chanel No. 5 commercials. This has already happened to brainwash you and I into accepting this triangle. So I ask the question, are we being conditioned to accept this New Age hierarchy? There is coming a hierarchy which is going to rule the world. And sitting at the top of this hierarchy is going to be someone that's going to be worshiped as God. And if we accept that individual as God instead of Jesus Christ, our Savior, then we would be on the verge of totally losing salvation altogether. That is, if we're a Christian right now and we accept and worship and commit idolatry openly, then we would lose salvation. It's that simple. You cannot be a practicing sinner and walk on the shed blood of Jesus Christ and expect to receive salvation. You just can't do it. So I believe we are being programmed right now, subtly, without our even understanding what's going on, to accept this new power structure of the socialistic New World Order. And it'll be ruled over by the masters of wisdom. There'll be one of them over each of the nations, the 10 combination of nations they have, and sitting at the superstructure of the entire thing will be the New Age Messiah. Now this is going to get interesting. I'm just putting in this delta to let you see what is happening to psychologically program us. Now, Mr. Paul Zamarin, Z-A-M-A-R-I-A-N, is also the president of the Great Seal Foundation. This is the seal on the back of the $1 bill that has the pyramid and the all-seeing eye offset on the capstone. Now he says that this particular seal has never been made into a die cast, and he wants it done. And why does he want it done? Here's why. I quote him from the Federal Times magazine, July 5th, 1982, because this would symbolize the unity of all mankind. How could a seal, a pyramid with an all-seeing eye in it, symbolize the unity of all mankind? Because Lucifer wants to establish a world government, and that world government can only be achieved if all religions are abolished, if all governments are abolished, and they start every nation from the ground up. After they totally abolish the family unit, they totally abolish religion, they totally abolish the governmental structure, and they start from the ground up and build an entire new society. Look what happened in the Soviet Union in 1917 and 19. They totally obliterated everything there was in that country, and they started from scratch, and they built a whole new system. What have they done in Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia? They totally obliterated everything, tore the whole structure down. What did they do in Bulgaria? It was the first nation behind the, not Bulgaria, I'm sorry, Romania. It was the first nation behind the Iron Curtain that claimed to be a totally atheistic country. But you see, those behind the system only make you and I think that this is atheism. It's not. They worship Lucifer by name. To be exact, the very top individual in all the world in international banking has a coven, which is witchcraft and worship of Lucifer built into his home. Philip de Rothschild. who happens to head up international banking and controls totally the Bank of England in downtown London. There is a certain area, so many square miles, that is not a part of England. It's an independent city called the City. And this is where the financial hub of the world is located, and is totally controlled by the Bank of England and its subsidiaries, the Schroeder banks, and it controls through those and stock holdings the Federal Reserve System of the United States of America. That's why the more we work, the poorer we get, because the more money that they print and loan it to us, the more interest we have to pay to them. And so our number one, well, I think our top 3 priorities in our budget every year is defense spending, social services, and paying the interest on the national debt. Where according to the Constitution of the United States, if we coined and regulated our own currency through the Congress, there would be no such thing as a national debt, and there would be no need for any taxes whatsoever, except excise taxes on imports coming into this country to pay the salaries for congressmen. That's all. There would be not one need for tax, and you would be kings of the world because you would be able to keep all the tax money that they extract from you right now. And your standard of living would go sky high, because there are 109 hidden taxes that you and I pay in the United States. Well, all of this is what they're doing to us through their international system. Now, the new Earth Battalion, has anybody ever heard of that? This has now been introduced into our armed forces, and it's Delta Force. Notice the word Delta, and their symbol is a triangle, and the Delta figure from Greece, or from the alphabet. They have infiltrated into the United States Army. Their stated aim is the redistribution of power and responsibility throughout the ranks of the military, and thereby changing Army leadership into their hands. This is their stated aim and goal. Their focus is on small groups, and their willingness derived from the integration of, notice this is their statement, mind, body, and spirit. What were the 3 sides of the triangle in the New Age and the occult mean? Mind, body, and spirit. So now this Delta Force is now infiltrated into our armed forces. They're taking control in top positions, and they're instituting this humanistic counterfeit, you might say, of mind, body, and spirit. And some of our top senior Pentagon officers are members, and they're listed by name in the New Age Journal, February 1981. So now they have control of our military in the United States. This is very interesting because we have already signed an agreement with the United Nations organization, which in 3 stages turns the military apparatus of the United States over to the United Nations organization totally. Well, this is happening to us today. World dictatorship and the New Age movement. Now notice, I'm going to hold up another picture. I know I've had several of them today, but I think it's important that you understand that I'm not making these things up. These things are real. They're happening. You can go out and see them visibly with your own eyes. But there is an emblem, and the reason I mention this is because right here in St. Louis, this has already happened. Downtown, there used to be what was called government housing buildings at 12th and Shodo. Huge high-rise apartments for those who didn't have much income. They could live there, and it was subsidized by the government. And a group of individuals came in called the Guardian Angels. And the reason they came in, they stated, was to help protect the citizenry. Okay, now this is cropping up all over the United States today. I want you to notice what's on the front of their white t-shirt. It's in red letters. Of course, I have black and white, so you won't be able to see the red. Is a huge triangle with an all-seeing eye of Lucifer and the sun rays coming out of it. The capstone on the pyramid on the back of our $1 bill and wings on it. And right here it is on the front of the Guardian Angels t-shirt. There is your all-seeing eye of Lucifer. This is a New Age movement group, just like you had in Germany before World War II. you had the young people who were helping Hitler to bring in the masses under his control. And they went throughout the neighborhoods to bring the neighborhoods to pretend to bring them under subjection to law and order. This is exactly what's happening now in the New Age movement. Now, you'll also find Delta designs and logos are used by several New Age organizations. There's one of them I have mentioned before. We printed a 1982 July magazine, and we reprinted it in November of 1985. It had a section in there saying, if they say that here's the Christ, don't go out after him. And we talked about and printed the entire full-page ad out of the Los Angeles Times from a man by the name of Benjamin Creme introducing the Christ, the Maitreya. Now, this Maitreya World Foundation is sponsored by the Tara Center. And this is the center that distributes Benjamin Creme's Maitreya the Christ material all over the United States. They also, and right on his material, which I guess I should hold up, right here it is at the bottom of the page, is your triangle. There it is. And you've got a sun with sun rays coming out of it. Once again, a New Age movement symbol. And over here you have a triangle with the big two circles in it, and your sun rays coming out from it again. And he's now saying that the return of the Christ as a woman has occurred. So you see, they're introducing Maitreya, the new world teacher, to everybody. But they're not the only ones that are using these triangles or the Delta figure. Now it's very interesting, the Rosicrucians, which is a Masonic order, also uses the Delta figure or triangles. And the Spiritual Unity of Nations, that's another group, which is also pushing for a Christ to come to save the world. They also use these Delta figures. Now, I think that's interesting. Why would these New Age groups use the triangle, which means mind, body, and spirit, and it's a humanistic, communism type of philosophy? They're using it because they're all interconnected, and I'm going to prove it before I'm through here this morning. Now, in a book called Fire in the Minds of Men by Mr. James H. Billington, he pointed out that as a revolutionary force, the Illuminati, and anybody who gets our literature has read many times about the Illuminati when it started, they said that they used these geometric forms and symbols at the beginning in 1775 and 1776, on May 1st, when they were formally started. Now, this is a interconnected three sides of a triangle. Now notice what they do. All the way back in 1776, they used a communication system of three individuals. And they would always use it as a triangle. And they would have each person, one person's name on one side of the triangle, another one on the other side, and the other at the bottom. And this was their communication network. And they would work in groups of three, as they called them, triangular structures, in order to go and visit people and try to introduce them into the order of the Illuminati. All of this was in the April 24th, 1981 Don Bell Reports, which is a widely circulated newsletter of world conditions. And also, it talks about economics. Now, I think this is remarkable because in this three-person triangular communication meditation network is also promoted by an organization called Lucis Trust. Has anybody ever heard of Lucis Trust? It's located wherever there's a United Nations organization building. 566, 567 United Nations Plaza, New York, New York is their address in New York City. Now, they promote also this triangular or three-person system. They say that they send members out in threes in order to work with people, to introduce them into the New Age movement. And all of this is found in their publication called Triangles. And they even tell how triangles is a source of power that's bringing in the New Age for all those enlightened individuals. Now, of course, there are establishment counterfeits all over the United States. They're everywhere that are a part of this New Age movement. Now, the Trilateral Commission, anybody ever heard of the Trilateral Commission? It's a commission that started in 1973 by David Rockefeller, who's the chairman of it, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who wrote a book, Between Two Ages, and said the wave of the future is international communism. He was the second man to Jimmy Carter as President of the United States, head of national security, and also Jimmy Carter. Those three founded the Trilateral Commission. And its design is to bring about Northwestern Europe, the United States, Canada, and Japan into a one-world, loosely knit organization. And from that, they would spread to engulf the entire world. Notice that they put out publications called the Triangle Papers. They also put out another publication called the Trialogue. All of this has to do with triangles. Now, the United Nations, this is important because I'm going to connect all of these together after my next couple of statements. The United Nations actually reveals to us where their allegiance really lies. In their meditation room, which is their religious room, their chapel as we would call it. This room is constructed in a wedge shape. Now, anybody who's ever cooked a pie knows, excuse me, when you cook a pie and you cut a slice out of it, you have two sides and then the end, and it's a wedge shape, isn't it? Okay? This is how the meditation room is designed. And then when you get up and look down upon it, you have the triangular structure, and then you have a part of it offset from it, another little private room, the top portion of it, which fits the top of the capstone on the pyramid on the back of the $1 bill. Now, this is interesting, but it's also equally interesting that in the prayer room of the United States Capitol, it is built exactly like a pyramid, exactly as it's found on the back of the $1 bill, the pyramid. This is very interesting. This information came from a book called Cult of the All-Seeing Eye, and it showed the diagrams, how they were identical. Now, Lucius Trust is based in New York City. It has other centers in London, Geneva, wherever there's a United Nations organization. Its philosophy is theosophy, which is humanistic, human potential. There is no supernatural God. See, you as an individual are evolving until you literally in this flesh can become a God. In the flesh. Not waiting for Jesus Christ to come and change you from this mortal body to an immortal spirit body, but you can become God in the flesh. This is what they teach. Now, Lucius Trust Triangles programs is one of the ways that they promote this New World Order. They have hundreds of groups of 3 people all over the United States. They all come together at a certain time of the day, 5 p.m., and they quote the great innovation for the return of the Christ, the Maitreya. They're literally praying to Lucifer for him to establish his one world government. Now, this is also interesting because the writings of a one world philosopher by the name of Robert Mueller is quoted constantly in all of their literature. Robert Mueller just happens to be the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations organization. So you see triangles in the meditation room, triangles in the White House prayer room, triangles promoted by the Trilateral Commission, the Commission on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers, who is an international, the jet set of the world, the ultra rich of the world. And then the United Nations, Lucius Trust, they all begin to interconnect, and there has to be some type of connection with them. Now, does anybody remember a movie that came on several years ago? It was a series. It was called The Phoenix. The Phoenix was the name of it. It came on 9 p.m. on ABC. Now, this man, the Phoenix, he wore a medallion around his neck. It was a circle, and inside the circle was a pyramid or a triangle, and it had wings on it. And they stated right out loud, right on this program, that this medallion and this triangle was what transformed him from a human being to supernatural strength along with the gods, and he would go out and do wonderful works and rescue people. They're programming our minds through the use of triangles that you and I can be transformed from physical to the gods right now while still in the flesh. This is the potential that they are promoting. Now, what are the origins of the New Age movement? We need to discuss that just for a few minutes. What are the origins? An Alice Bailey of Lucius Trust said that the hierarchy, now this is the hierarchy that's going to rule the world when they come into their kingdom, is responsible for the New Age movement. And she said in her book, Externalization of the Hierarchy, on page 566, that they began to start their work of social destabilization of all religions and governments in 1775. And their official start was May 1st, when they had everything codified in their plan in written form on May 1st, 1776. Now this is what Alice Bailey, who founded Lucius Trust, stated in her book, Externalization of the Hierarchy. What else happened in 1776? There was another organization called the Order of the Illuminati, was founded by Adam Weishaupt. In 1775, he had everything codified and started May 1st, 1776. So now to begin to see the connection, Lucius Trust, they claim their founding was 1775 and 1776, and now the Order of the Illuminati. And the Illuminati simply means illuminated ones. They are the enlightened ones. They're the ones who have the authority, the education, the ability to rule over everything, every part of society. Now, this order of the Illuminati rose out of Freemasonry. And you can find that in the book, the paperback edition, Proofs of a Conspiracy, page 9. This was originally written in 1797 by John Robinson, who was a professor at Edinburgh University in England. This was a very powerful man and looked up to in that age. Now in 1923, the publishing company of Lucius Trust was called the Lucifer Publishing Company. And it changed its name from Lucifer Publishing Company to Lucius Trust. It took its name from the periodical Lucifer. That was a periodical put out, a magazine. And it was issued by its founder, now get this, H.P. Blavatsky. And this can all be found in the book, A Planned Deception, page 246. So she started the Lucifer Publishing Company. They changed its name. She was a communist and a socialist, and she worshiped Lucifer by name. And she wrote many, many books showing how the New Age would come into being, and how that everyone would have to be initiated into it. And if you won't go through the initiation, you will be separated and not go into the New Age movement. Now, if you don't go into the New Age, what happens to you? It's obvious, isn't it? If you don't go into it, then you're going to cease to exist. I think that's pretty obvious. So they're telling us right now what's going to happen to all true Christians who will not give up Jesus Christ. Now, in 1935, their original great innovation began. And I've held this up before in various meetings, showing the prayer that they pray, asking for their God, their Christ, to set up their new age. Now, I just want to quote the first sentence, and you tell me what this sounds like. This came directly from the book, Externalization of the Hierarchy, the introduction pages, page 5. Here's the first sentence of their great innovation. Let the forces, capital F, of light bring illumination to mankind. Who was Lucifer? Lucifer Publishing Company changed to Lucius Trust, and they are the ones who have the great innovation. And they said, let the forces of light bring illumination. Lucifer means the enlightened one. See? So here they worship Lucifer, but they want us to think they're atheistic. So they're establishing atheistic countries everywhere until they've taken the world. Then they will bring out Lucifer into the public eye. This is exactly what certain men at a later time stated. Now, Lucius Trust regards Giuseppe Mazzini, who headed the Illuminati from 1834 till 1872 until his death with great respect. They say that he is one of the greatest men of all time, and he advanced the revolutionary cause of one world government more than any other man at that time. They acknowledge his initiation, now get this, into the Carbonari, which is a Masonry group. Also, it's an Illuminati group, and this was found in the Beacon newspaper, September, October of 1983. They actually admit that he was initiated into an Illuminati group. It was also Mazzini who in the 19th century, between 1834 and 1872, who chose Albert Pike to help him to unify all Freemasonic societies around the world. And they would do it by taking the upper level, the very highest ranking Illuminati or Freemason members who were willing to give up on God. They just totally turned their back upon God. And if you've done that, if you don't have Jesus and God in the world, what does that leave for you to worship? The other side, the forces of evil. And so they would take these men of the highest initiates in these various orders, and they founded an ultra order that would rule all Freemasonry. And this is found in the book Occult Theocracy, page 209, by Lady Queensborough of England. So Albert Pike was given the title Sovereign Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry, and he was named to the order, and he named this new order the New and Reformed Palladian Rite. This is the one that rules through the very high initiates of all Freemasonry. They rule all Freemasonry all over the world in secret. And even the Masonic lodges themselves, the brothers in the lodge, have no concept they're being ruled by a super rite unless they've done some historical digging and they find these things out for themselves. Now it's interesting because the Palladian lodges were called triangles. Beginning to fit together, isn't it? All of it. On a global scale. All of these organizations. And it was acknowledged that Palladism, and I quote, was essentially a Luciferian rite. End of quote. The Occult Theocracy, page 216. So Mazzini made himself the chief of political action. And together with Albert Pike, they easily penetrated all the Freemasonic lodges all over the world. That was page 217 of that same book. So when the order of the Illuminati was suppressed in Bavaria, Germany by that government in the 18th century, they all had to escape. They infiltrated and gained control of the French lodges. And they were the very ones, through the Grand Orient Masonry, the lodges in France, that fomented the French reign of terror and overthrew that government, and they wiped out 1/3 of the population. And it's very interesting how they did it. You know, all you have to do, ever since they founded the Illuminati, they have a way of handling and creating circumstances. If they want to move in a certain direction, they create a problem. Then they come up with a solution. So how were they going to overthrow the French government? Well, they said, okay, since we're the one who controls all the buying power in France, we'll buy up all the bread, the wheat and so on. We'll ship it out of the country, then there'll be a bread shortage. That's exactly what happened. And then all the people were starving. They had to have food. And so they rose up, and of course the Illuminati had their agents out on the front line saying, okay, it's the government. They're the bad guys. They're the ones who got rid of all the food, so you're starving. Let's overthrow the government. When they themselves, and it's a historically documented fact, are the ones who, it was the Lord of Orleans is the one that bought it up and then shipped it right out of the country so that they could actually overthrow the French government. And the people themselves would help in the overthrow and the destruction of their own government. There is no change in their tactics today. They will use people and they will create a problem and then stir up people to solve the problem in a way that they would not do if they understood who was behind the problem. Also, socialism and equality is being preached everywhere. These are only fronts put out by the Illuminati until they take over their totalitarian type world government. There will be no equality. Not when they take over their government. In 1917, Walter Lippmann wrote a book in his column in the New York Times. Here's what he said, quote, "In awaiting the establishment of world government, universal socialism will serve as its keystone." Did you catch what he said? He said, while they're waiting for world government, socialism will be its keystone. But after the world government goes into force, they'll do away with socialism and they'll have an absolute tyrannical dictatorship, 100%. Everybody will be nothing but serfs, and they'll be redistributed out on the farms, and they'll work in groups, and they'll grow food for the selected ones who work in the factories to produce a limited amount of goods and services for the peasants. Oh yes, this is a system that's going to revert us all the way back into the Middle Ages. That's exactly what it's designed to do. Now I think this is all interesting because it's beginning to bring all of these groups together. Helen P. Blavatsky, who was the founder of Lucis Trust, was not only a theophist or a humanist, but also a Fabian socialist. Now, what is Fabian socialism? Okay, you have two types of socialism. One of them is communism. You just go out and you overthrow by the force of arms and you enforce a dictatorship upon it. That's called communism. But if you come in, as the old Fabian was one of the generals of the Roman armies, he would sit down, he would send scouts out to scout out the armies and so on of the opposition. He would come back and he would take his time and sit down and plot out his strategy. He was a slow-moving individual. So Fabian socialism is you go in and you pass laws through the legislature, and you socialize a country by passing laws. The United States is nearly totally socialized. And so she was a Fabian socialist. She believed in socializing by passing laws. She states, and listen to this, in her own book, Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 511, that the Masonic movement will meet the need of those who can and should wield power. So the Masonic lodges today, they handpick the ones of the very highest degrees. Those are the ones who are ruling everything right now in this new organization. I'll continue the quote. Masonry is the seat of initiation. There it is, right in her own book. And under the all-seeing eye, and we've got it on our $1 bill, right? The work can go forward. Yep, under Masonry. They handpick from the highest degrees. They are initiated into the New World System, worship Lucifer by name, and under his all-seeing eye, which is now becoming established all over the United States and the world, the work can go forward. She goes on to say, it, which is Masonry, is a far more occult organization than there can be realized, and is intended to be the training school for the coming advanced occultist. You see, she believes that occultists are the true people. You and I are the false. You see? And so in the Masonic lodges, most of the people there have no concept that this is taking place. They are being used. They want to get all business people into the lodges, and that's their intelligence gathering apparatus, the lodges. And then all this information infiltrates up to the very top, and then they have, as it is, their eyes and ears everywhere. Well, according to Bailey, there are three phases of this unfolding new age, correspond broadly and in general to the 3 degrees of the Blue Lodge of Masonry. Here it is. These phases are, number 1, the poor and destitute candidate emerges into the light. What happens in every country where communism overthrows that government? The peasants, the downtrodden masses are the ones who are given the light, and they overthrow the government, right? Okay, this is exactly what the initiates of the 1st degree in the Blue Lodges are doing. They're the poor and destitute candidate, and they're now beginning to see the light. The 2nd stage, there is a complete economic reorientation of the world. This is what's happening right now through the Trilateral Commission, the Commission on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers. They're now establishing a one-world economic system with no barriers. That's why you have clothing and so on coming from communist China into the United States, and that's why 700,000 factory workers in the garment industry are out on the streets right now because of imports with no taxes coming from communist China. And here I went out and bought a new briefcase before my trip to Florida. Boy, I was so excited. I hadn't had one in, I guess, 13 years. So here's a brand new briefcase. I got it home, and I opened it up, made in Romania. Communist country. I could have spit on the thing, but I didn't. I used it. But here we are. In this country, we're being forced to buy and support communist countries by these companies trading with foreign governments that are designed to bury us. That's called treason according to the Constitution of the United States. Anybody that aids and abets the enemy can be tried for treason, and yet there is nobody yelling treason in the United States against those companies and senators, House of Representatives members, and Ronald Reagan, President of the United States, who called for free trade before he was elected the last time. And what was one of the 45 points that we have printed right out of the Congressional Record of the United States, the FBI uncovered? That is, the Soviet Union was trying to get the United States to accept free trade so they could send foreign goods, cheap goods, over here to destroy our economy and throw all the people out on the streets out of jobs. They would rise up against the government. That's exactly what she said right here, one of the 3 stages. And that's what they're doing to us. And yet nobody says treason. And I haven't seen a lynching lately for those who are doing the dirty work. Well, just a little comment in passing. But anyway, she said a third part was there is a major initiation. And this is what you and I need to understand as I begin to bring this to a close today. There is a major initiation whereby people realize that the Christ has returned to earth. A major initiation. This is quoted word for word from her book, Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 574, 575. There is coming an initiation. Benjamin Creme, who is the torchbearer, I guess you would call him, for all the emergence of Maitreya in the United States, also is a part of Freemasonry. Listen to what he says in his publication, Share International, September of 1984, page 18. Quote, Freemasonry as one of the paths to initiation will be open to all those men and women who fit themselves for entry to the new age. Bingo. If you don't fit because you accept Jesus Christ, out you go. You'll not enter the new age. That's why they have 37 concentration camps in the United States right now for people like you and me. Bring it on, because the quicker it happens, Christ will return and the real government will be established. I'm going to start bringing this to a close today. Of course, my closes are about 15 minutes because I've got some information now that I want to show you from everything I've said, all these interlocking companies. I want to give some more direct quotes about the New Age economic plan and show how all these companies working hand in glove and all their board of directors working together, their economic plan now. And it fits Revelation 13, verse 16 and 17. In Alice A. Bailey's book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy, this was published by Lucius Trust. It provides an outline for this New Age economic plan. I quote page 511. The 3 main channels through which the preparation of the New Age is going on might be regarded as the church. And what have they done through the National and World Council of Churches? Infiltrated all of them. And they're actually promoting international socialism and communism through those churches. They're just socialized churches today. They don't preach any truth. The Masonic fraternity, and didn't I just quote from Benjamin Creme's publication and Alice Bailey's book itself that the Masonic lodges is where you have to be initiated through them to go into the New Age, and the educational field. And I've already quoted how the NEA is cited by the Attorney General of the United States as a communist front organization. They train their people, send them in as change agents, preparing us for a new socialized world government. There it is, right there, right in her book. And it's happened. Now, I've got a question. Is there a plan designed for world government, or did it just happen? There must be. You can't take a watch. You can't walk through the desert for miles and miles and suddenly stumble over a watch that's out in the desert and think it just happened to come into existence. You and I have a thinking, rational mind. We know that anything that's made and it works, somebody had to sit down and design it and put it together and make it work. It just didn't happen. It just didn't. And all of these things that they're talking about, different organizations, it just didn't happen to come together. They planned it and designed it. And they had their one designer, Lucifer, behind it. After all, he's the only one that lives on, doesn't he? When one person dies, he bridges that gap and continues to communicate through his cohorts, the spirit guides, with those who continue to live, and on the next generation and the next generation. There is no other explanation. Now, I want to quote from page 569. Here's what she says in her book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy. Certain adepts who are authorities of modern financial matters have prepared. This is not will prepare, this is already has prepared. It's ready to inaugurate a system of barter and exchange. What is barter? It's no cash, no gold, no silver. I make something, I hand it to you, you hand me something back in return. What is the instant transfer of funds? It's a bartering system, isn't it? It sure is. You go to work, they instantly transfer the funds from your barter effort with that company into your bank system. You don't have any cash, nothing. Then when you go to the store, you say, hey, okay, I worked over there today. I'll give you some of my time for some groceries off the shelves. So they transfer that time that they gave you into your account to that store. That's all it is bartering between individuals back and forth. And if you don't have enough barter, quote, dollars in your account, you just can't barter till you get some more. That's all it is a bartering system. They said it would have to be set up, and that was way back when she wrote the book. Is it happening? It's happening all around us. Now, let me continue this quote. Which will be comprehensively human, and it will supersede big business and private enterprise. And that's exactly what's happening. They've already got a world network of SWIFT, which they're going to instantly transfer all funds all over the globe, and it supersedes big business. Now, let me quote page 574. There'll be a complete economic reorientation by which humanity is relieved of all economic anxiety. Everybody will be equal. Everybody will start out that enters the new age with a certain amount of money in their bank account. And then when you go out and work, they'll put that money in your account from there. Then you trade it back and forth, whatever you have. And that will relieve everybody, the poor people, from anxiety, not knowing how they're going to get another dollar to go buy something. You see, it's going to make everybody equal. Everybody starts out with the same. This is exactly what they've got planned. They've said it, and they're implementing it right now. There will be an overall financial adjustment. And this is what Zbigniew Brzezinski said in his book, Between the Two Ages. He said there will be a period of time when the new structure will fit in the old structure. But then there'll come a time when the change will have to be so dramatic that there'll be world upheaval. And that's exactly what we see right now. They said there will be a financial adjustment. The principle of sharing will be a recognized motivating concept of the new civilization. What do we see sharing today? Share International by Benjamin Creme, and now here is this Alice Bailey in her book. And what do we see? International socialism. It's the redistribution of the wealth from a person that has 100,000 to the one that has only 1,000, and they share equally in everything. It all fits together. It's the same system, and they're coming at us from 10,000 different angles. That's all in order to promote it. She goes on to say, when the adjuster of finances appears, notice this is going to be the world Maitreya, national currencies will have been largely superseded. Superseded with what? Well, this barter system. Isn't that what they're promoting now? Instant transfer of funds. If you work for the government, let us directly deposit your money into your bank account. See? Not only by a system of barter, but by a universal monetary exchange. And what did we see in Sydney, Australia, when I first started this message? They put in a bank card. and they transferred U.S. money. It transferred it to the value of Sydney, Australia, Australian money, and it gave it to them in their account from the United States down there, and it properly adjusted for the difference in the currency value. Right here we've got it, this universal monetary exchange and a barter system combined. They said that national material assets and the needed commodities will all be provided for under an entirely new system. Private enterprise will still exist, but will be regulated. What do we have in the United States? We have such companies as, or government agencies as OSHA, which goes into every business and regulates it. They have certain standards you've got to operate by, or they shut you down. That's not free enterprise, that's regulation of it, just like she wrote back in the turn of the century. The great public utilities, the major material resources and the sources of planetary wealth such as iron, steel, oil, wheat, for instance, will be owned in the first place by a governing, controlling international group. And we see right now monopolies. All of those type businesses are being conglomerized into the hands of a few individuals, preparing for the government or those who are going to run it to take over. Of course, we know that'll be the Rothschilds. You don't think they're going to give up all their plush standard of living, do you? And come down here with the rest of us? Oh, no. They're going to control everything. Now, the last part of the message this morning, and I think this is going to tie it together, all of it together, is that in 1982, in the January issue of Emergence, Benjamin Crane stated, and I quote, "There is a group of high initiates, industrialists." These are people who are already initiated into the system. They're the ones working for world government. He said they're industrialists, economics, and administrators of great experience and achievement who, with the hierarchy, have worked out plans and blueprints that'll solve the redistribution problems of the world. They've already got it worked out. Notice when they say it's going to happen. When the political will is there to implement them. That's why they have war after war after war to so wear us out that we will say, give us somebody to bring us peace. When the political will is there. They've already got the economic structure set for this world government. Now, in this same issue, it contains an article which is talking about a company, a new company that's called the International Reporting Information System. Here's what it says. The IRIS, the International Reporting Information System, claims it will rival the CIA in the ability to gather and supply global information to governments and businesses. IRIS, registered in Holland and backed by a number of large European financial institutions. Did you get that? This whole thing was started by large European financial institutions. Bank of England, Schroeder Bank, and others. All of them which control the Federal Reserve System in the United States. They already have 96 correspondents around the world and a large contingent staff in Crystal City, Virginia. Also in Virginia is the key to the IRIS service, a massive computer that's equipped to handle unlimited amounts of information on almost any subject. End of quote. Now, get the next statement. The operation is headed by a Washington publisher by the name of Anthony Stout. Anthony Stout. Robert McNamara, who happens to be former president of the World Bank. He also is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, that are both working for world government, who sees it as a, quote, a boon to third world countries. This is going to be their way of redistributing wealth. And he says that Robert McNamara is the North American representative to this International Reporting Information System. So this is a new CIA, global CIA. Now, that's not all. But in the same January 1982 issue of a publication called the Multinational Monitor, here's what it said. It reported that in addition to banks being members of this IRIS, they have such companies as the Seascope Group Corporation, Washington, D.C. based government research corporation, and its location in Crystal City is just a few miles from CIA headquarters. And this IRIS's International Advisory Council is headed by Edward Heath. Okay, now in addition to Robert McNamara, there's also the former French Minister of Commerce, Jean-Francois Denal, who is representing Europe in this international information gathering organization. And a former Colombian finance minister, Botero, represents South America. So you have a representative from every single continent on the face of the earth, and then they have reporters who go around and investigate and pool all this information into this system. Now, I think this is very interesting because the Share International is a part of it. And they say that we must share the assets of the United States with the rest of the world. And it's this information gathering institution that's going to determine what assets should be shared. Now, think for a minute. Do you know of any assets that the third and fourth world countries that are poverty-stricken can share with the United States? Not one. That means when there comes an international sharing system, where is all the goods going to be going from? Us. The United States of America, Western Europe, Great Britain, the British Commonwealth, and it'll be shared. All of our assets will be shared with all of these other countries. Also involved with this company, this new information gathering company, is the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the United Nations, and the Club of Rome. Now, this is very interesting. Club of Rome. What's the Club of Rome? I'm going to skip over just a little of this information because I'm going to print it. But I want to share that the Club of Rome has now called for a Messiah. The Club of Rome is a group of very intelligent individuals who sits down and they blueprint world strategy, and then they send this world strategy to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and other organizations such as the Bilderbergers, and then they implement it and put it into being. The Club of Rome has now called for a Messiah, and it's going to be a false Messiah. Now, to bring it to a close today, I want to read 2 Thessalonians, because all of these organizations are linking together to bring about this world government. I don't know how close we are to it. I don't set dates. All I can tell you are the trends and bring you information so that you can get your heart right with God. You need to learn what God's covenant is, because when Jesus came on the scene, He didn't do away with His covenant. He said, I'll make a new covenant. The old covenant is waxing old, but in the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, is it verse 13? He said, but a new one's going to come in. And then there was prophesied in Jeremiah 31 to 34, plus in Hebrews chapter 8 and chapter 10. He said, I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel. And what did He say He would do? He said, I'll write my laws into their hearts and their mind. So God's law has never changed. It's just 3 points that Jesus Christ did. Number one, Jesus Christ looked back and said, look, under the old covenant, there was no way to forgive sins. You broke my covenant, death passed upon you. In the new covenant, I have now shed my own blood because I was perfect. I did not sin in any way. So He said, I've shed my blood. You accept through faith that my shed blood, and I died in your place, and I've forgiven all of your sins, then you can be made right with God. You will be justified. You'll be reconciled. Then the second point that was different from the old covenant and the new covenant was that He said, look, there was no way for the people to spiritually have the capability to obey me. I will now give them the Holy Spirit that will give them the power and the will, and I'll write my laws into their heart and their mind. I'll circumcise them in their heart to cut away the hostility against my law. And He said, I'll write my law in their hearts and their minds. He didn't do away with His law. Matthew 5:17 to 19, Jesus said, don't think I've come to destroy the law or the prophets. And unless we get in harmony with the laws of the kingdom, how are we ever going to rule in that kingdom when it comes? Jesus said, if I can entrust you with the little things, I can entrust you with great things when I return and give you a reward. But if I can't even trust you with the little things, how can I give you immortality? He can't do it. And then a third thing that's different from the old covenant and the new covenant, Jesus said, look, there was physical priesthood. who went into the Holy of Holies once a year, and he had shed blood of bulls and goats, and that could not forgive sins. He first had to offer a bull or a goat for his own sins, and then the people's, then he would come into the Holy of Holies. They still didn't have their sins forgiven. They were just covered over, looking forward to the Messiah. But now, Jesus Christ, our Messiah, is now gone into the heavens, into the very throne room of God the Father, New Jerusalem in the heavens, and the mercy seat right before his throne with his own shed blood. When you and I go and ask forgiveness, he sprinkles his blood on the mercy seat, and you have total forgiveness. So you see, there is a new and a living way. But obedience to God's laws are still a part of the covenant. It has never changed. When we slip, we have an advocate with the Father. It says so, 1 John 2. When we make a mistake, we have an advocate. We have a lawyer. Jesus pleads our case. Satan says, look, see there? He deserves death again. Jesus said, oh no, I paid the price for him. He doesn't have to die. He's yours, Father. I replaced him on that cross. So now we'll forgive his sins. And now, as far as you're concerned, God never looks at you as anything but a perfect human being. And you deserve eternal life because of what Jesus did for you. Not because of what you've done. You never deserve. You can't earn salvation. But Jesus said you must accept him. Now, the reason I mention this is because when this New Age system comes in, you're not going to have a Bible. They've got their own Bible. They've got their own Bible. And they say right in the front, they're going to worship the God of forces. Yep. Just like it says in the book of Daniel, chapter 11. He's going to worship, it says munitions, but you look up the word munitions, it is forces. The God of forces, Lucifer. And when is this going to happen? 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It will happen in the near future. I don't set dates. I'm not going to be foolish like some of them and give you a date and it doesn't happen, then you lose confidence in me. I won't do that. I'll only point you to the signs of the time, and Jesus said when the little twigs come out on the tree, then you know that it's about to happen. Jesus said, starting in verse 1, concerning, I'm reading from the New International Version, concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus, and that's what we want. We're all concerned with that. And our being gathered to him, we want immortality. We ask you, brothers, not to become easily unsettled or alarmed by some prophecy. And there are many prophecies floating around all over the United States that you're going to be raptured out before this system comes in. All the missionaries went over to China, told them the same thing, and millions gave up their salvation because they weren't raptured out before communism took over. Don't be alarmed by some prophecy, report, or letter supposed to have come from us, the apostles, saying that the day of the Lord has already come. You didn't miss the resurrection. It has never happened yet. Verse 3, don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come until the rebellion and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the man doomed to destruction. This is the New International, more modern English. It does say there is coming a rebellion at the very end of the age. This is this New Age movement where they're going to initiate everyone into where you must worship Lucifer as God and not Jesus Christ. This is the rebellion referred to all the way through the Bible. It'll occur at the end of the age. Verse 4. He opposes and exalts himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, and even sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. Don't you remember that when I was with you, I used to tell you these things? And now you know what is holding him back, so that he may be revealed at the proper time. For the secret power of lawlessness, and it even says it's secret, and it is. The word Babylon, mystery religion, in the book of Revelation chapter 17, you look up the word mystery. It means in secret. And all of these secret societies, the Masonic lodges, the Palladian Rite, all of them are in secret, and they are sworn under the assassination of death by their brothers in the lodges. If they reveal the secrets, they die. It's that simple. This is why this secret power of lawlessness is already at work way back in Paul's day. But the one who holds it back will continue to do so, till he is taken out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord Jesus will overthrow with the breath of his mouth and destroy by the splendor of his coming. The coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with the work of Satan, displayed in all kinds of counterfeit miracles, signs, and wonders. Don't go chasing after miracles as a sign of God. It's not. Obedience to God's law is the sign. Read Deuteronomy 13. And in every sort of evil, that deceives those who are perishing. Notice, right in the very same context, it says Satan's agents are going to work miracles and every sort of evil that deceives. So a miracle can be evil if it's used to deceive you. They perish, listen to this, because they refuse to love the truth. There is one body of beliefs in this Bible. God has a covenant. You and I must believe it, or we will be sucked into this new age system.